The massive hall buzzed with angry voices. 12 different alien species sat around the giant circle table, each one looking very different from the others. Some had blue skin, others had 4 arms, and a few looked like walking trees. But they all had one thing in common today. They were all talking about humans. The human problem must be solved, shouted General Vrak from the Vorthok Empire. His red eyes glowed as he slammed his clawed fist on the metal table. They are dangerous. It's even locked away on their little planet. They cause trouble. Ambassador Veltar from the Etherian race shook her silver head slowly. She was tall and thin, with skin that seemed to glow in the dim light. General Vrak, you do not understand what you are asking for. Humans are not like other species. When you push them, they push back harder. Nonsense, Vrak spat. What? They nearly destroyed themselves 300 years ago with their own weapons. They are weak and stupid. My fleet can crush them in one day. The other council members whispered among themselves. Some nodded in agreement with Vrak, while others looked worried. The humans had been locked away on Earth since 2157. After they almost wiped out their own planet with nuclear bombs, the galaxy thought it was doing the right thing by keeping them isolated, far away from the council chambers. On a small space station orbiting Earth's moon, Commander Jinha Park stood looking out at the stars. He was 52 years old, with gray hair and tired eyes. His uniform was old and patched in many places. Behind him, junior officers worked at computers that were at least 20 years behind what the rest of the galaxy used. "Sir," called out Lieutenant Kim, a young woman with short black hair, "we're getting strange signals from deep space. Lots of ships moving toward our system." Ginha turned around slowly. "How many ships?" "We can't count them all, sir." "Maybe thousands." Jinha felt his stomach drop. For 300 years, humans had been preparing for this day. The day when someone would come to finish what the nuclear war had started. Send word to Earth Command. Tell them it's time. Back in the council chambers, the debate was getting louder.
Buzz.
The Zephyrian delegate, who looked like a giant blue octopus, waved his tentacles in the air. The Vorthok want Earth's resources. That is all this is about. They want the rare metals in human space. So what if we do? Vrak growled. Those resources are wasted on a species that can barely travel between planets. We will put them to good use. The humans can find somewhere else to live, if any survive. The crystalline representative, whose body was made of living crystal, chimed in with a voice like breaking glass. The Vorthok proposal is logical. Humans have shown they cannot be trusted with advanced technology. They will only hurt themselves and others. Ambassador Veltar stood up gracefully. Her people were known for being peaceful, but also for being very wise. Council members, I have studied human history for many years. You think they are weak because they fought each other? But that is exactly what makes them dangerous. They learn from every fight, get stronger from every defeat. Fairy tales, laughed Vrak. My intelligence reports show they have maybe a few hundred old warships. We have 10,000 of the most advanced fighting ships in the galaxy. It will not even be a real battle. Down on Earth, in a deep underground bunker beneath what used to be Sol, Dr. Harenyun typed rapidly on her computer. She was 38 years old, thin and pale from spending most of her time underground. Around her, hundreds of other scientists worked at similar stations. Status report, she called out to her team. Project Adapt is ready, Doctor, answered one of her assistants. All human ships are equipped with the new learning systems. In the asteroid field, Quan's engineering teams finished placing the charges last week. When we trigger them, the enemy won't be able to see clearly for hours. Haren smiled for the first time in months. The galaxy thought humans had spent 300 years feeling sorry for themselves. They were wrong. Humans had spent 300 years getting ready for war. The Galactic Council continued to argue. Some species wanted to give the humans a chance to surrender peacefully. Others thought they should be moved to a different planet. But General Vrak was getting impatient. Enough talk, he roared. Every day we waste here is another day the humans could build more weapons. My fleet is already in position. Give me the order, and I will solve this problem forever. The council speaker, The ancient being whose species was older than most civilizations, called for quiet. We will vote now. All in favor of allowing the Vorthok Empire to proceed with their invasion of Earth. 8 hands, claws, and tentacles rose into the air. For voted against. The motion passes, the speaker announced sadly. May the stars forgive us for what happens next. Ambassador Veltar gathered her things and prepared to leave. As she walked past General Vrak, she stopped and looked at him with her large silver eyes. General, I will give you one piece of advice. When you attack the humans, do not expect them to fight like any enemy you have faced before. They do not fight to win battles. They fight to survive. The human who is fighting to survive is the most dangerous creature in the galaxy. Vrak laughed loudly. I have conquered 47 worlds, Ambassador. I think I can handle one small planet of primitive mammals. As Veltar left the chamber, she whispered a prayer in her ancient language. She had read the old human stories, the ones about their wars and heroes. She knew something the rest of the council did not understand. Humans were not dangerous because they were strong or smart. They were dangerous because they never, ever gave up. In the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter, Engineer Quan Li put down his tools and looked at his completed work. Thousands of old mining charges, connected by a network of cables and computers, waited silently in the cold space. When the enemy came, they would learn the first lesson of fighting humans. Nothing was ever as simple as it seemed. The Vorthok invasion fleet began to move toward Earth, confident in their overwhelming advantage. They had better ships, better weapons, and far more soldiers. What they did not have was 300 years of human stubbornness and the desperate creativity that comes from having nowhere left to run. The war was about to begin, and the galaxy would learn why some mistakes can never be undone. General Vrak stood on the bridge of his massive flagship, the Deathbringer. Through the giant windows, he could see thousands of his ships moving through space like a dark cloud. Each ship was 3 times bigger than anything humans had ever built. His red eyes gleamed with excitement. How much longer until we reach Earth? He asked his second-in-command. 2 hours, General, replied Captain Thok, a smaller Vorthok with scars covering his green face. Our scouts report the system is completely quiet. No radio signals. No ship movements. It's like the planet is empty. Vrak smiled, showing his sharp teeth. Good. The humans are too scared to even try to fight us. This'll be easier than I thought. But far away, on Luna Station, Commander. Jinha Park was watching every move the enemy made. His old computers showed him exactly where each Vorthok ship was located. He had been waiting for this moment for 30 years. All stations, this is Jinha. He spoke into his radio. Operation. Silent Thunder is now active. Remember, no one talks on any radio frequency. Use only the hand signals we practiced. Around the solar system, human ships powered up their engines, but kept their weapons and communication systems turned off. They had spent decades learning how to fight without the enemy knowing where they were. These were not the big, powerful warships that other species used. These were small, fast ships that could hide behind asteroids and moons. Lieutenant Kim, now serving as Jinha's communications officer, tapped him on the shoulder. Sir, the enemy scouts are entering our outer sensor range. We activate the asteroid field. Not yet, Jinha replied calmly. Let them get closer. We want them to think they're safe. The Vorthok scout ships moved toward Earth like hungry wolves. Their powerful scanners searched for human defenses, but they found nothing. The space around Earth seemed completely empty. This made Captain Thok feel nervous. General, he said quietly, something feels wrong. Where are their ships? Where are their space stations? Even a primitive species should have some defenses. Vrak waved his clawed hand dismissively. They probably hid everything on their planet. Cowards always run when real warriors arrive. Continue the advance. Deep underground on Earth, Dr. Harinyun watched her computer screens with intense focus. Her team had been tracking the enemy fleet since they entered human space. Every Vorthok ship, every weapon, every movement was being recorded and analyzed. By her computers? Doctor called out her assistant, a young man named Park. The learning algorithms are working perfectly. We've identified their ship types, weapon systems, and communication frequencies. Harin nodded. Excellent. Send the data to all our pilots. By the time this battle starts, we'll know more about their ships than they do. This was humanity's secret weapon, the ability to learn from their enemies faster than anyone thought possible. While other species spent years studying new technology, humans could figure it out in hours. In the asteroid belt, Engineer Quan Li floated in his spacesuit, making final checks on his hidden weapons. Around him, chunks of rock and metal drifted silently through space. But these were not ordinary asteroids. Each one contained explosives and sensors that could track enemy ships. Quantu Jinha, he whispered into his private radio. All charges are ready? When you give the signal, I can create a debris field that will blind their scanners for hours. Understood, Jinha replied. Stand by.
Yes.
The Vorthok scouts reached Earth's outer atmosphere and began their scans. What they saw confused them. The planet looked normal: cities, forests, oceans, but there were no visible military bases or shipyards. General, reported the lead scout, Earth appears to have no space defenses. I see cities and farms, but no weapons. Maybe the humans really are as weak as we thought. Vrak laughed loudly. Perfect. Begin the main assault. I want this planet conquered before dinner. The massive Vorthok fleet moved forward. 10,000 ships approached Earth like a metal storm.
A cruise.
We're excited, thinking this would be the easiest victory in galactic history. That's when Ginha gave the signal. All units, execute Operation Silent Thunder. Quan, light them up. Quan pressed a button on his control device. Instantly, thousands of hidden explosives went off throughout the asteroid belt. But these were not random explosions. They were carefully planned to create clouds of metal and rock that would interfere with enemy sensors. The Vorthok fleet suddenly found themselves flying blind. Their advanced scanning systems could not see through the debris field. Warning alarms started ringing on every ship. What's happening? Vrak shouted. Unknown explosions in the asteroid. Field General, replied a panicked officer. Our sensors are useless. We can't see anything. That's when the humans attacked. From behind moons and asteroids, small human ships appeared like angry hornets. They were tiny compared to the Vorthok vessels, but they moved with incredible speed and precision. Each human pilot knew exactly where to aim because Harin's computers had already mapped every enemy ship. The first wave of human fighters targeted the Vorthok communication arrays. Without warning, dozens of enemy ships lost their ability to talk to each other. The perfectly organized fleet suddenly became a collection of confused, isolated ships. Impossible, Vrak screamed. How are they hitting us so accurately? They can't even see us through this debris. But the humans could see them. While the Vorthok relied on their advanced sensors, human pilots were using something much simpler, their own eyes and basic radar that worked even in the debris field. A human pilot named Lieutenant Cho flew her small fighter directly under a massive Vorthok battleship. The enemy ship's weapons could not turn fast enough to target something so small and fast. She fired her missiles at the ship's engine, causing it to spin out of control and crash into another Vorthok vessel. The enemy had expected a traditional space battle with big ships firing at each other from long distances. Instead, they got something they had never seen before: tiny ships attacking like a swarm of insects, impossible to catch and deadly when they struck. Jinha watched the battle from Luna Station with grim satisfaction. Phase 2, he ordered. Deploy the ghost ships. Suddenly, false signals appeared on Vorthok sensors. It looked like human ships were attacking from every direction at once. The confused enemy crews started shooting at shadows, while the real human ships attacked from completely different angles. Dr. Heron smiled as she watched her electronic warfare systems work perfectly. The Vorthok were using their own advanced technology against themselves, seeing enemies that did not exist while missing the real threats. In just the first hour of battle, the humans had destroyed 3 entire Vorthok battle groups. They had done it not with superior weapons or bigger ships, but with tactics so strange and unpredictable that the enemy could not adapt fast enough. General Vrak stared at his battle screens in disbelief. His overwhelming advantage was disappearing. Before his eyes, the humans were fighting like nothing he had ever encountered before. "Sir," Captain Thok said quietly, "maybe we should retreat and rethink our strategy." Vrak's eyes burned with rage. "Never. I will not be defeated by these primitive creatures. Send word to the council. I want reinforcements. All of them." But as more human ships appeared from their hiding places, Vrak began to understand what Ambassador Veltar had tried to warn him about. Humans did not fight like other species. They fought like they had nothing left to lose. And that made them far more dangerous than anyone had imagined. The emergency session of the Galactic Council was chaos. Representatives from 12 species shouted at each other across the Great Hall. Emergency lights flashed red, and urgent messages kept arriving from the battle zone around Earth. "This is impossible," roared Counselor Drex from the Crystalline Federation. His crystal body glowed bright orange with anger. "General Vrak's fleet is the strongest in the galaxy. How can primitive humans be winning?" Ambassador Veltar sat quietly in her chair, but her silver eyes showed no surprise. She had tried to warn them, but no one had listened. Why, the reports coming in from Earth proved she had been right all along. The council speaker, ancient and tired, read the latest battle report with a shaking voice. Vorthok losses in the first week, 3,000 ships destroyed or damaged. Human losses, approximately 200 small fighters. "Impossible," shouted the Zephyrian delegate, his blue tentacles waving wildly. "The numbers don't make sense. Humans have primitive technology." "Maybe that's exactly why they're winning," Veltar said quietly. All eyes turned to her. She stood up gracefully and walked to the center of the hall. "You all make the same mistake General Vrak made. You think having better weapons makes you a better fighter. But humans don't fight with just weapons. They fight with their minds." Back in the solar system, Commander Jinha Park was proving Veltar's words true. His small command ship moved carefully through the debris field around Jupiter. Behind him, a captured Vorthok battleship followed like an obedient dog. "Status report on the prize," Jinha called to his crew. Lieutenant Kim looked up from her computer screen with excitement. "Sir Kwan's engineering teams have been working on it for 6 days. They say they've not only figured out how it works, they've made it better." Jinha smiled. This was the human way. Take what the enemy gives you, learn from it, and use it against them. 300 years of being locked away had taught humans to make the most of every opportunity. Deep inside the captured Vorthok ship, Engineer Quan Li crawled through the alien machinery with a team of human mechanics. The ship was huge compared to human vessels, with technology that was centuries ahead of what Earth had before the war started. "This is amazing," Quan said to his assistant, a young woman named Li. "Look at how they build their engines. So much wasted power. We can make this ship 50% faster just by fixing their design mistakes." "What about weapons, sir?" asked another engineer. Quan grinned. "Even better. Their weapons are built to fight other Vorthok ships, big, slow, and heavily armored. But we can modify them to target fast, small ships instead. When we're done, this battleship will be perfect for hunting other Vorthok vessels." The work continued day and night. Human engineers took apart alien technology piece by piece, learning how every system worked. But they didn't just copy what they found, they improved it, making it work better and faster than the original designers had ever imagined. On Earth, Dr. Heren Yoon watched her screens with growing excitement. Her computers had been analyzing every battle, every enemy tactic, every weakness in Vorthok's strategy. The data they had collected was incredible. Doctor called her assistant. "Park, we've broken their military codes completely. We can now listen to all their communications and even send false orders to their ships." Heren's fingers moved quickly across her keyboard. "Perfect. Send new orders to the Vorthok 3rd Fleet. Tell them to attack the 5th Fleet's position. Let's see how they like fighting each other." Within hours, 2 Vorthok fleets were shooting at each other in the space between Mars and Jupiter. The confused alien commanders couldn't understand why their own allies were attacking them. By the time they figured out what had happened, both fleets had taken heavy damage. The reports reaching the Galactic Council grew more disturbing each day. and the mighty Vorthok Empire, which had conquered dozens of worlds, was being systematically destroyed by a species that had barely learned to travel between planets. "How are they doing this?" demanded General Throck from the hegemony. His forearms gestured wildly as he spoke. "Humans have only been in space for a few hundred years. We've been building starships for thousands." Veltar stood up again. "Exactly why they're winning. You've been building starships the same way for thousands of years. Humans have been learning and changing for hundreds. They adapt faster than you can plan." She activated a hologram in the center of the room, showed the battle around Earth in real time. Human ships moved like a school of fish, each one knowing exactly where the others were going. When Vorthok vessels tried to predict their movements, the humans would suddenly change tactics completely. "Watch carefully," Veltar said. "See how they fight? Every battle teaches them something new. Every defeat makes them smarter. Every victory shows them a new way to win the next fight." The council members watched in stunned silence as a group of small human fighters defeated a Vorthok battleship by using its own missiles against it. The humans had somehow turned the enemy's weapons around in mid-flight. "This is sorcery," whispered the Trilaxian representative. "No," Veltar replied sadly. "This is what happens when you corner a species that never learned how to give up." Meanwhile, Jinha was planning humanity's boldest move yet. The captured Vorthok battleship was finally ready for combat, but it looked nothing like it had before. Human engineers had covered it with additional weapons, faster engines, and better armor. More importantly, they had painted human symbols all over its hull. "Sir," Lieutenant Kim reported, "long-range sensors show a Vorthok supply convoy heading toward their main fleet. 50 ships carrying fuel, food, and ammunition." Jinha studied the tactical display. "Perfect. Take our new ship and 4 fighter squadrons. We are going hunting." The modified Vorthok battleship moved through space like a predator. When the enemy supply convoy saw it approaching, they assumed it was one of their own ships coming to escort them. They had no idea that humans were now controlling their most advanced warship. "This is Battleship Dark Revenge," Jinha broadcast on Vorthok frequencies, using their own language. "We are here to escort you to the fleet," acknowledged. "Dark Revenge," came the reply from the convoy commander. "We are glad to see you. These humans have been attacking our supply lines constantly." Jinha smiled grimly. "Don't worry, the humans won't bother you anymore." He was right. The ambush began. The supply convoy was destroyed so quickly that they never had time to send a distress signal. 50 Vorthok ships disappeared without a trace, and their main fleet would soon run out of fuel and food. Back on the council chambers, the latest report sent shockwaves through the assembly. The humans had not only captured Vorthok technology, they had improved it and were using it to devastate the enemy fleet. "This changes everything," the council speaker said quietly. "If humans can take our technology and make it better, then no species in the galaxy is safe from them." Ambassador Veltar nodded slowly. "Now, you begin to understand. Humans don't just fight wars, they learn from wars. Every conflict makes them stronger, smarter, and more dangerous." She looked around the room at the frightened faces of representatives. From 12 species, General Vrak thought he was going to conquer Earth. Instead, he has given humanity the greatest education in galactic warfare they could ever receive, and they are very good students. The emergency session continued deep into the night, but everyone knew the truth now. The Vorthok invasion of Earth had been a terrible mistake. Humanity was not going to be conquered. Instead, they were going to emerge from this war as the most dangerous military force the galaxy had ever seen. And there was nothing anyone could do to stop it. The question now was not whether the humans would win. The question was what they would do after they won. General Vrak stared at the battle reports with disbelief. In 3 weeks, his mighty fleet of 10,000 ships had been reduced to barely 4,000. His red eyes burned with rage and something he had never felt before: fear. "This is impossible," he roared at his officers. "They're using our own ships against us. Our own weapons. How are these primitive creatures learning so fast?" Captain Thok nervously approached his commander. "General, perhaps we should consider a strategic retreat. We could regroup and never." Vrak's claws scraped against the metal table. I will not be the first Vorthok general to lose to an inferior species. Signal all remaining ships. We attack Earth directly. If we cannot defeat their fleet, we will destroy their planet. The remaining Vorthok forces began their desperate assault. On Earth itself, thousands of ships entered the planet's atmosphere expecting to find helpless cities and frightened humans. Instead, they found something that no alien species had ever encountered before. Commander Ginha stood in the underground command center beneath Seoul, watching the enemy ships approach Earth's surface. Around him, hundreds of human officers worked at their stations with calm determination. All defense grids are online, reported Lieutenant Kim. Every major city is ready. Civilians have been moved to the deep shelters. Ginha nodded. Good. Activate Project Unity. Across Earth, something incredible happened. Every human defender, soldier, pilot, engineer, scientists suddenly became connected to a vast network that Dr. Heron had spent years creating. It was more than just communication. It was like having a single brain with millions of eyes and hands. Dr. Heron monitored the network from her laboratory deep underground. Her computers showed thousands of green dots representing every human fighter on the planet, shared what it saw, what it learned, what it experienced with all the others. Network is stable, she announced to her team. All humans are connected. Every lesson learned by one person will instantly be shared with everyone else. In the skies above London, pilot Sarah Chen found herself in a dogfight with 3 Vorthok fighters. Her small aircraft was no match for their advanced weapons. But the moment she discovered a weakness in their armor, every other human pilot on Earth knew about it instantly. On the ground in New York, Sergeant Mike Torres used an encaptured alien weapon to destroy an enemy tank. The second he figured out how the weapon worked, thousands of other human soldiers suddenly knew how to use similar weapons. The Vorthok forces found themselves fighting an enemy that learned and adapted in real time. Every tactical advantage they gained lasted only minutes before the humans found a counter-strategy. General Vrak's flagship landed in what used to be Paris, crushing buildings under its massive weight. He stepped out wearing his battle armor, confident that his personal guards could handle any human resistance. What he found shocked him. The humans weren't running or hiding. They were fighting back with weapons and tactics that seemed to change every few minutes. Soldiers who had never seen Vorthok technology before were using it better than his own troops. Sir, called one of his guards, the humans are using our own battle formations against us. How do they know our military tactics? Vrak watched in horror as a group of human soldiers moved in perfect Vorthok formation, but with improvements that made it even more effective. These humans had learned centuries of alien military knowledge in a matter of hours. Back in the command center, Ginha watched the battle with growing amazement. His people were not just fighting, they were evolving. Each human was becoming stronger, smarter, and more skilled with every passing minute. Sir, Lieutenant Kim said with awe in her voice, our casualties are actually decreasing as the battle continues. Our people are learning faster than the enemy can hurt them. Engineer Quan Li worked frantically in his workshop, but he was no longer just repairing human equipment. He was creating entirely new weapons using alien technology he had never seen. Before, the knowledge flowed to him through the network, from other humans who had encountered similar devices. This is incredible, he said to his assistants. I'm building weapons I didn't even imagine this morning. Every time one of our people captures enemy equipment, I instantly know how to make it better. Above them, the battle raged across Earth's continents. But something unprecedented was happening. Human soldiers were surviving injuries that should have killed them, driven by pure determination to protect their world. Pilots were performing flying maneuvers that seemed impossible, pushed beyond normal human limits by desperation and will. Dr. Harin noticed the changes in her data. The Nowhere K is showing something I've never seen before, she reported to Jinha. Our people aren't just sharing knowledge. They're sharing strength, courage, and determination. It's like the whole human race has become one organism focused on survival. In the ruins of Berlin, a young human medic named Anna found herself surrounded by enemy soldiers. She had no weapons, no armor, just medical supplies. But through the network, she felt the courage of every human fighter on Earth. Instead of surrendering, she picked up debris and started throwing it with such accuracy that the enemy soldiers retreated in confusion. The Vorthok troops were becoming desperate. Nothing they tried worked for long. Their advanced tactics were learned and countered within minutes. Their superior technology was captured and improved upon almost instantly. General Vrak stood in the ruins of Paris, watching his forces fall back on all fronts. His communications officer ran up to him with panic in his eyes. "General, we're receiving reports from all battle zones. Our troops are requesting immediate evacuation. They say the humans are fighting like demons." Vrak grabbed the officer by his armor. "What do you mean?" "Sir, they don't fight like any species we've ever encountered. When we wound them, they keep fighting. When we destroy their weapons, they pick up ours and use them better than we do. When we corner them, they become more dangerous, not less." Across the planet, the truth was becoming clear. Humanity was not just winning this battle, they were being transformed by it. Every challenge the Vorthok presented made humans stronger. Every desperate moment brought out abilities that even humans didn't know they possessed. In Tokyo, a construction worker named Tanaka found himself operating a captured Vorthok tank with perfect skill. Even though he had never been inside any military vehicle before, the knowledge came to him through the network, but something more came with it, an unshakable belief that humans could overcome any obstacle. Jinha watched the tactical displays with growing amazement. "They're retreating," he announced too. His command staff, Vorthok, are pulling back from all positions. Lieutenant Kim looked up from her station with wonder. "Sir, in 6 hours of ground combat, we've not only stopped their invasion, we've captured over 2,000 enemy vehicles and weapons. Our people are learning to use them faster than the Vorthok learned to build them." General Vrak made his final desperate decision, activated his personal communicator, and sent a message to his remaining ships in orbit. "All vessels, prepare for orbital bombardment. If we cannot conquer this planet, we will destroy it completely." But even as he gave the order, Vrak felt a chill of fear. He had seen what humans became when they were pushed to the edge of extinction. They didn't break. They didn't surrender. They became something far more dangerous than he had ever imagined. Above Earth, the remaining Vorthok ships prepared for their final, desperate attack. But they were no longer facing the same species that they had invaded weeks ago. They were facing humanity evolved, stronger, smarter, and united by a determination that burned like fire in their hearts. The real battle was just beginning. General Vrak stood on the bridge of his flagship as it climbed back into Earth's orbit. His red eyes stared down at the blue planet with hatred and fear. Half his invasion force was destroyed, and the other half was fleeing in panic. "Charge all orbital bombardment weapons," he ordered through clenched teeth. "If I cannot conquer Earth, I will turn it into ash and dust." But as his ships prepared their planet-killing weapons, something impossible happened. Thousands of small human ships rose from Earth's surface like angry bees from a disturbed hive. These were not military vessels. They were civilian craft hastily armed with captured alien weapons. "Sir," his weapons officer called out in panic. "Those ships are piloted by humans who learned to fly during the battle. Construction, workers, teachers, farmers, they're all attacking us." Commander Gin had led the desperate charge in a modified cargo ship that Quan's engineers had turned into a fighting machine. Through the Unity network, every human pilot shared the same thought. Never again. Never will aliens threaten our home again. "All ships, this is Jinha." He broadcast to the swarm of human vessels around him. "Remember, we don't need to destroy them all. We just need to save our world." Dr. Heron watched from her underground laboratory as her computers showed the final battle beginning in space. The Unity network was working beyond her wildest dreams. Every human pilot flew with the skill of a veteran, even if they had never left Earth's atmosphere before today. "Incredible," she whispered to her assistants. "They're sharing not just knowledge, but courage and determination. It's like the entire human race has become one person, with billions of bodies." The space battle was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Human ships attacked in perfect coordination, each pilot knowing exactly what all the others were doing. When one ship was destroyed, the others instantly learned from its sacrifice and adapted their tactics. Engineer Quan Li piloted a small fighter that he had built himself from spare parts and captured alien technology. As he dodged enemy fire, his ship's computer was learning, adapting, becoming more efficient with every second. "This is amazing," he called over the radio. "My ship is rewriting its own programming to fight better. It's learning faster than I can think." General Vrak watched his forces being torn apart by an enemy that seemed to predict his every move. "How are they doing this?" He screamed at his officers. "They're flying better than pilots with decades of experience." That's when Gina's voice came over the Vorthok communication channels, speaking in perfect Vorthok language. "General Vrak, this is Commander Ginha Park of Earth. I have a message for you." Vrak's eyes widened. "How did you learn our language so quickly?" "We learned it from your own soldiers," Ginha replied calmly. "The same way we learned your tactics, your technology, and your weaknesses. Surrender now, and we will let your remaining ships leave our solar system." "Never," Vrak roared. "I am General Vrak of the Vorthok Empire. I do not surrender to primitive mammals." "Then you will die here," Ginha said simply. The final assault began. But it was not the humans who were desperate. Now, it was the Vorthok. Their mighty flagship found itself surrounded by hundreds of small human vessels that moved like a pack of wolves hunting a giant beast. Quan's fighter, along with 50 others, attacked the flagship's engine section. Harin had identified the exact weakness in their design, and every human pilot knew exactly where to strike. The massive ship began to spin out of control. General Vrak felt his ship shaking apart around him. In the final moments, he realized what Ambassador Veltar had tried to warn the Council about. Humans didn't fight like other species. They fought like they had nothing left to lose, and that made them capable of impossible things. His last transmission was heard throughout the galaxy: "Retreat. All ships retreat, ... These beings, they don't just adapt, ... They consume war itself and become stronger." The remaining Vorthok ships fled Earth's solar system in complete disorder. Behind them, they left a humanity forever changed. 3 months later, Ambassador Veltar stood before an emergency session of the Galactic Council. The Great Hall was quiet, with representatives from 12 species listening to her words with fear and respect. "The Vorthok invasion of Earth has ended," she announced. "General Vrak is dead. His fleet is destroyed. But that is not the most important news I bring you today." She activated a hologram showing human ships traveling between stars. Humanity has not only survived the invasion, they have mastered every piece of Vorthok technology they captured. They are now building starships more advanced than anything in the galaxy. The council members looked at each other with growing alarm. The crystalline delegate's body glowed with nervous energy. "Are you saying the humans are now a threat to us?" Commander Ginha Park walked into the council chambers. At that moment, no longer wearing his old patched uniform. Now he wore the gleaming armor of a galactic leader, but his eyes still held the determination that had saved Earth. "We are not a threat," he said in a clear, strong voice. "We are a reality you must accept." Dr. Haran Yoon entered behind him, carrying data tablets that contained centuries of human scientific advancement compressed into months of desperate innovation. "We have learned much from this war," she said simply, "and we will continue to learn." Engineer Quan Li was the last to enter, but the technology he carried with him made several council members gasp. It was a small device that could improve any starship engine by 300%, something that should have taken decades to develop. "How?" whispered the Zephyrian delegate. "How did you advance so quickly?" Ginha smiled. "The same way we won the war. We never gave up. We never stopped learning. When you pushed us to the edge of extinction, we didn't break. We became something stronger." The council speaker, ancient and tired, looked at the 3 humans with something like awe. "What do you want from us?" "Recognition," Ginha replied. "A seat on this council, and a promise that no species will ever again make the mistake of underestimating humanity." Ambassador Veltar stood and walked to the center of the hall. "I propose that humanity be granted not just membership in this council, but a permanent place as defenders of galactic peace. Defenders? Asked the Trilaxian representative nervously. Yes, Feltar replied. Because any species foolish enough to threaten galactic stability will face the same fate as the Vorthok Empire. I assure you, no one wants to experience what happens when humans are forced to fight for survival. 1 year later, human colonies were spreading across the galaxy, not through conquest, but through invitation. Species that had once dismissed humanity now begged for human protection and technology. Jin-Ha stood on the observation deck of the first human interstellar embassy. Watching ships depart for distant stars, Horan worked beside him, her computers. Now helping other species solve problems they had struggled with for centuries, Quan floated nearby in zero gravity, putting finishing touches on a new type of starship engine that would revolutionize galactic travel. Do you think we've changed? Horan asked quietly. Jinha looked out at the stars and smiled. We've always been this way. We just never had the chance to show the galaxy what humans really are. And what are we? Quan asked. Survivors, Jinha replied. But more than that, we're the species that turns every defeat into a lesson, every challenge into an opportunity, and every impossible situation into a victory. The galaxy had learned the hard way what it meant to be human. Never surrender. Never stop learning. And when the impossible stands in your way, don't go around it, go through it and become stronger. On the other side, the war was over, but humanity's greatest adventure was just beginning.